The next 11 games, 4 with Miami, 2 with the Bombers, 4 with the Braves, and then 1 with Minnesota. That Minnesota game is on July the 29th. We know the MLB trade deadline is July 30th at 6. The next game against the Minnesota Twins after that initial game is at 7:10. So you look at it, the next 11 games for the New York Mets and what they need to accomplish and how this stretch of games clearly more important for the Mets than it is the Yankees. The next stretch of games before the MLB trade deadline, more important wholeheartedly for the Mets than it is the Yankees. Listen, we could talk about this Met team, and they've been remarkably fun. They really have. You know, it is a long time ago when you think back to early part of June when this team was sitting at 11 games under 500 mark. They're 3 games over as the second half of the season and the sprint toward the finish gets going later on tonight down in Miami against a dreadful Marlin team. But should they cool off, and they were hot as a firecracker to close out the first half, should they struggle, should they have a bad series against Miami, should they get swept by the New York Yankees, it'll be interesting to see the reaction by David Stearns and Steve Cohen. I've made it perfectly clear all week long. I do think, unless, I did couch it, unless this Met team drops off an absolute cliff to begin the second half in their first 11 games right leading up to that MLB trade deadline, I wholeheartedly believe that David Stearns and Steve Cohen are going to go out there and try and address the needs on this team. And obviously, the biggest need of all, with the report coming out yesterday that Kodai Senga is going to make another rehab start up in AAA Syracuse, and they'll get him at some point in time here in the second half back into that starting rotation. The biggest need of all is that relief. And you got to add to that bullpen. And you need relief pitchers. And not just one relief pitcher. You need 2 relief pitchers and 2 relief pitchers of probable quality, especially when you're looking at a lefty, because Diekman looks like he's absolutely shot. But could that all change? Conceivably speaking, it could. I mean, if they go out and they have a stretch here where they lose 5, 6, 7 games in a row, I'm not telling you that it's going to happen because I don't think it is. I think what the Mets have been able to do is sustainable. But make no mistake about it. All that positivity in a long MLB regular season, right? It is a marathon, not a sprint. You hear that cliche time and time and time again. The perception of the Mets has already changed once. Could it change again? And the answer to that is, I don't think it will, but the answer to that is, yes, it could. And could that all of a sudden change the direction of Cohen and obviously the president, David Stearns, at the MLB trade deadline? Yeah, that's a possibility. And if you compare it to, say, the Yankees, and you're looking at their stretch of games to open up their second half as they open up in the Bronx tonight in a wraparound series against the Tampa Bay Rays and then welcome in the Mets into the Bronx after the Mets swept them away out at Citi Field, the Yankees have no other choice. They have to go all in. And yes, the record is decidedly different. You might say, well, Moose, I mean, that's a stupid statement, right? But the Yankees have 58 wins on the regular season. They're in a distinctly different spot than the New York Mets. They have a lot more wiggle room. They have a lot more. They've won a lot more games. Look at where their record stands across Major League Baseball. They've been a really good team, even though the fact that they're 8-18 in their last 26 games, the Yankees have won a ton of baseball games. That is true. All that is, yeah, no doubt about it. But even if the Yankees should struggle to begin the second half, as you get Vaccaro writing a column today in the New York Post about the second half of this season, Aaron Boone's job is on the line. Even if they should struggle, Cashman and company have no choice. They've got to add come the MLB trade deadline. The uncertainty of Soto, the importance of this season, what this team would look like should Juan Soto leave via free agency. You don't have 2 or 3 years to play with and kind of figure it out. This was the all-in season for the New York Yankees. So regardless of how it looks, this wraparound series against the Rays, how it looks against the New York Mets, what the mantra has been by Brian Cashman historically, if you go out there and deserve to be supported or reinforced, I'm going to go out there and reinforce you. And might say, well, they've already done enough. True. But also the pressure that is on this Yankee team to go out there and win a World Series, something that they have not done since 2009. That's the differentiation between the two. Even though I do think, you ask me right now, True Serum, I do think that both teams will add come July 30th in the MLB trade deadline. I do. Sitting here, I do. And we'll take your calls at 888-808-1019. There is an out for the Mets. There is no out for the Yankees. There's the difference. And you might say, well, Mark, I mean, the Mets, the bullpen, look at this lineup. They're going to go out there and continue to prove it. I'm not being a predictor here. I'm not going to tell you that the Mets are all of a sudden going to struggle against Miami. I don't think that's going to be the case. But I will say this. They struggle out of the gate. You had a president in David Stearns that looked at this year as a wait-and-see approach. We'll observe. We'll take it all in. We'll look at the information. We'll decipher that information, and we'll figure it out. They struggle to start the second half. Maybe it's a case of they move and make a move here or there, but they don't strike and go for the big-time edition. And it would give a president and general manager that wanted to observe this season a little bit more time to observe. I've said it all week long as I filled in for BT and Sal here on WFAN that I do think it's going to be a fun second half here for both locals. But there's no question about it. The stretch before the MLB trade deadline clearly more important for the Mets than it is for the Yankees. And back to the Bombers for just a second. Like, as we talked to John Heyman yesterday and run through the potential, additions or where the Yankees could go out there and make a move, one thing is certainly clear. And I know the Yankees have got some security blankets. Jason Dominguez, I mean, for all intents and purposes, from everything you hear, his season is probably over after suffering that so significant oblique injury in the later part of the month of June. And we all love prospects. Baseball fans love prospects. They love thinking about the fact of what a guy potentially could be, right? They love thinking about what that guy could be, called up, drafted, developed, signed as an international signing, everything you've heard, 5 tools, what they could potentially be, being a game changer, everything. Like, we all love it. As baseball fans, we all love it. We all love young players, dynamic players, got game changers, all of that. And for the Yankees, historically speaking, right, we've run through the litany. I mean, you could go through them all. Some have worked, and obviously some have not. We've got into, some Yankee fans have called me up this week talking about the lack of development when you're looking at the New York Yankees. I bring all of that up for this reason. The Yankees would not trade Spencer Jones for Corbin Burns during the course of the offseason. Corbin Burns ended up being traded to the Baltimore Orioles. He was your American League starter Tuesday night in Arlington for the American League. If somebody calls up and wants Spencer Jones for the Yankees, and I know that he is a security blanket because of the potential of losing Soto in the offseason, the lack of, about Verdugo, everything that we talked about, the injury history now when you're looking at Jason Dominguez, not only coming back from the Tommy John, but also an oblique injury. I do not want to hear that the Yankees did not want to give up because of the uncertainty of Juan Soto and did not want to give up Spencer Jones for, say, a player that would be of great impact. Whether it be Isaac Paredes, whether it be the White Sox starter, whether it be Miller out in Oakland, who's got 5 years of control, I don't want to hear about it. Because prospects are that. You have no idea. And it's not like Spencer Jones is absolutely tearing the cover off the ball down in the minor leagues. Said it time and time again. Criticized Cortez yesterday about the overall malaise or happy to be in competition or happy to be a contender year in and year out. Don't want to see the Yankees going out there and say, you know what, we need to protect our future. We need to protect ourselves. That is complete and utter nonsense. And I don't care what Spencer Jones develops into. I really don't. Go win a World Series. That's what defines it. I'll tell you this, historically speaking, outside of Aaron Judge, Yankee prospects, they have a terrible job, do a terrible job of developing their own guys. I don't want to hear about too rich, wouldn't give up, wouldn't part. They were at the doorstep. Spencer Jones was a non-starter. We're looking at that. No. This team, when you made the addition of Juan Soto, gave up the assets that he gave up to the San Diego Padres, when you go out there at the behest of Aaron Judge and go get Alex Verdugo from the Boston Red Sox. When you put this lineup together that everybody and their mother thought at the start of the season, the lineup is going to be the driving force. The starting rotation is going to be highly questionable. It's been the complete opposite. Outside of Judge and Soto, the lineup's now a massive question mark, and the starters were brilliant for the first 2 months, and now they're taking on water. Don't let Spencer Jones and the potential, not realized, no resume, but the potential of what Spencer Jones can be on the major league level prevent the Yankees. Don't let it prevent you from going out there, bringing in a guy to help you achieve your goal this season. And it was one goal, win a World Series. That's it. Not win the East, not make the playoffs. Sorry, Nestor, not be in contention. Not go out there and get through the Astros. Not make it to the World Series, which they haven't done either, is to win the World Series. It's good to have baseball back tonight, I'll tell you that. 888-808-1019 is your number to call. Mark Malus is with you, in for BT and Sal. Westchester bound we go. It's Rob kicking us off here on this Friday. What's going on, Robbie?
Hey, happy Friday. What's going on, brother?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing really well. Chip's feeling great. My wife's still not talking to me. I'm here talking to you. I have my outlet. We're talking New York sports, a little Mets and the Yankees. Nothing get better than that.
It doesn't. Listen, I'm on my way to vacation in LBI with my wife in the car. Listen, you and your wife will make up. Don't worry.
I don't know, Robbie. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Chip has been a great divider in the house, along with some other things, but Chip has been...
I hear you.
Well, safe travels. Look, LBI is a great spot to go. How long are you going down to LBI for?
You know what? I'm taking off Friday, so I took off today. I took off Monday. I'll come back Monday. So we're staying at Daddy-O's right on the beach. It's going to be a fun time, my man.
Beautiful.
Sure I got the Mets on, too.
Well, safe travels. Enjoy. Have a great time. That's a blast. That's great. Great spot to be in during the course of the summer. What's on your mind, buddy?
Listen, I want to follow up right on what you just said with prospects or just prospects. I love that. I always tell some of my Met haters, if you will, that prospects are just prospects, especially I want to mention it as it relates to Pete Alonso, right? Like, a lot of people are like, oh, man, you guys should try to get rid of Pete now. And it's like, okay, knuckleheads. First of all, if we were going to trade Pete, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you do that preseason. The only thing we would get for Pete right now is prospects. And what a stupid thing. Because I've heard people call up recently to WFAN and still say this. It makes no sense at all. I'm sorry. It doesn't make sense. And look at some of the prospects the Mets have had. You remember the guy, Lastings Millage? You remember him?
Of course, yes.
Whatever happened to that guy? I don't know where he is now, right? I mean,
I have no idea where he is. He didn't work out. There's a litany. Alex Ochoa. For both teams. Generation K.
Yeah. And what I think the Mets should do is try to make suckers out of another team. We got some catcher prospects, right? There's two guys.
Yeah.
We got catcher prospects. We got a couple outfielder guys that it's like, you know, when you go online and look at these rankings, it says estimated time, 2028. It's like, okay, really, guys? Why don't we go make suckers of another team, trade a starting pitcher, like, you know, maybe our worst starter, who that could be. You know, Minai has been a little better, but I don't think he's good. So we have Christian Scott now, who could be that guy who could step into that last starter slot. I think we should do what other guys are telling us to do is trade a couple prospects that we really don't think are going to pan out, and they probably won't, and then maybe our worst starter for two relievers. And I'll hang up, and I want to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, I don't know if that's so to a contending team, or I should say to a non-contending team. And Heyman yesterday did a nice job running through it, about 8-9 teams that'll probably be sellers at the MLB trade deadline, and you have well over 18, 19, 20 teams that are going to be looking to try and add. And a lot of teams across Major League Baseball are looking to add relievers. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be tantalizing if I call an opposing GM and be like, you know what, I want to include my package one of my struggling starters. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be it. It's going to cost you a lot. I mean, it just is. You want to go swing for the fences, go get Mason Miller and overpay for him. And then you have, because you have control of them for 5 years. Like, that's not a just win this season. That is a foundational piece. A guy that's got swing and miss stuff. Should Edwin Diaz struggle, could obviously step into the closer's role. I don't think he's a product of playing for a dreadful team. I think the talent plays anywhere. From my understanding, I don't think it would be an issue with him being able to handle New York and the pressure that comes along with it. But that's where you start to build when you add those kind of dominant arms. And you have to look at it and say, well, is his what his brilliance is this season and what you've seen from Miller from the Oakland Athletics, well, is that sustainable? To me, it is. Like, I don't even have a question. Now, there's going to be because that's going to cost you a ton because of the control he has and because there's a lot of, everybody. If you need a reliever and you're a contending team, what are you going to look at? Well, I'm going to look at the dreadful Oakland Athletics, who are still trying to figure out where they're going to play baseball in the future. I'm going to try and pick one of their lone bright spots on the team and a dominant reliever in Miller. A lot of people are interested. Riverdale, we go. It's Sid. What's going on, Sid?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Sydney, how are you, buddy?
Oh, great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. No, I agree with everything you said. I just feel, when we talk about pressure, what is defined pressure? So if the Yankees don't make the playoffs or win the World Series, where's the pressure coming from? Is Hal going anywhere? Is Cashman going anywhere?
Well, Hal is the managing general partner. Hal owns the team. No, he's not going anywhere. The team made north of $650 million last year. Their valuation is over $7 billion. No, unless he sells the team, Hal's not going anywhere. No, it's the accountability. It's whether or not it's grown stale. Is it working? Are we achieving our goals? And you can look at it and say, well, what are the goals? Let's define what we want to accomplish during the course of the year. And if the goal is, well, we want to be a contender, John Mara, the Giants co-owner, always says if, he looks at it as a successful season, if the Giants are contending and they're playing, playing meaningful games in the back quarter of the season. Well, that's football, right? That's not baseball. It's not one and the same, but that's how the Giants co-owner goes out there and defines it. You look at the Yankees, often, for historically speaking, majority of my years on God's green earth, they were defined by success was by whether or not they won a World Series. My formative years.
Yeah.
Now, it's changed. And we discussed that yesterday. That's neither, it's changed, right? So the Yankees, I think, view success in a lot of different ways. They have a lot of people at the ballpark. They make a lot of money. They charge a lot to go to the games. Like all the things, they put together an entertaining product. You, the Yankee fan, would not be showing up in the Bronx if it was not an entertaining product. It is. For the most part. Yeah, last year was not. But still, they drew, right? They made money. We ran through it. In a bad year, the Yankees still had generated north of $650 million in revenue. So now this year, it's a lack of accountability. You hold when you look at it and say, has it grown stale? Is the message getting through? Are guys going out there minding their P's and Q's, doing everything that you can? And at times this year, especially in the last 26 games, when they've scuffled and they've struggled, there have been signs that there's been kind of a malaise, lackluster effort. Those are the things that you can get on the manager and be critical of.
Right. So then, all right. So with that said, then who gets the blame for their lack of effort? Is it the manager? Is it Boone?
Well, effort has nothing to do with talent. Effort has to do with focus. Playing hard is not talent. Playing hard is a mindset. Like that is one of the that is Boone making sure he has the ear of the team. That's it. But it's not going to turn into a Friday midday here where we're talking about firing the manager. The manager's not going anywhere.
No,
Aaron Boone when this team was 50-22, right? Aaron Boone was the manager. They've gone 8-18 in the last 26 games. I could be critical of some of the messaging, some of the platitudes from Aaron Boone post-game. I could be critical of him rationalizing out laziness from the team after the game. I do not think he is the problem with this team.
No, I agree. And, I just saw Mike Vaccaro's thing in the post that if this is it for Boone, if he doesn't, he's got to go all. He's got to be big this year, and then but I don't think he's going to. Who are you going to replace Boone with? You're going to replace someone you're not going to get a Showalter in there. You're not going to get, any of those managers. You're going to get the same kind of manager Boone is.
Well, I don't know. Sid, often teams, you see, they go from a player-friendly manager to then that's a little bit more of a disciplinarian. Bring up the example. Dallas Cowboys went from Bill Parcells to Wade Phillips. You got to, flip the script, change the mindset a little bit. So I think they'd probably go, if they decided to make a move following this season, And we're a long way away. Pressure should be on everybody. It really should. But the most pressure is not on Boone and his managerial future. It really isn't. The most pressure on that Yankee organization right now is the guy that's held his position for a long time, and that's Cashman. No choice. Go make moves. Soto could be gone after this season. Go make moves. This is an all-in year. Go out there and be aggressive. Got no other choice. Might not like the way it's looked the last 26 games where you've gone 8-18. We are sitting here. We are 11, 12 days away from the MLB trade deadline. The Yankees got to go out there, and they've got to add. No other choice.